Hello dino lovers, today we're diving into some of the biggest deleted scenes and scrapped ideas from Jurassic World Rebirth. The film introduced terrifying mutants, new dinosaurs, and plenty of memorable moments, but it almost turned out very differently. Concept art, storyboards, and behind-the-scenes material revealed deleted scenes, abandoned ideas, alternate endings, and even dinosaurs that never made it into the final cut. So let's take a look at what was left behind and see just how different Rebirth could have been. If you enjoy this kind of Jurassic content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more. One of the fast deleted scenes was an extended version of the movie's opening. Originally, the sequence began with a group of primates observing the jungle as the trees started to shake. At first, it seemed like a dinosaur was approaching, but instead, the real source of the disturbance was revealed to be a massive bulldozer clearing the forest to make way for a new laboratory complex on Saint-Hubert. The scene showed workers and heavy machinery clearing the island, highlighting how nature was being destroyed to expand the facilities responsible for creating the mutant creatures. Curiously, early storyboards revealed that the opening originally featured a native tribe watching the destruction of their island as the laboratory complex expanded. They also showed that the facilities belonged to Biosyn instead of InGen, suggesting the island's backstory was very different before the filmmakers ultimately connected it to InGen. The laboratory sequence also went through some changes before the film was released. One of the biggest involved the Distortus Rex's first victim. According to director Gareth Edwards, scientist DeSanto was originally supposed to die during the containment breach. However, the roles were later switched, and Williams became the Distortus Rex's first victim. There was also an additional scene that was completely removed. Before the escape, DeSanto and Williams walked through a section of the laboratory filled with tanks containing mutant embryos and experimental creatures. Among them was a small specimen with features similar to the Distortus Rex, offering a closer look at the genetic experiments taking place on Saint-Hubert. The escape itself was also slightly different, something we know thanks to the original screenplay. Originally, Williams would be eating a Snickers bar while ignoring a sign that prohibited food and drinks inside the laboratory. He would then attempt to throw the wrapper into a trash can. He would miss, and the wrapper would eventually be sucked into the containment door mechanism. That single mistake triggered a system failure, allowing the Distortus Rex to escape. Early versions of the lab also featured a two-headed velociraptor, later replaced by the two-headed Mutodon seen in the final film. And according to the concept art, the laboratory itself was originally much darker and far more disturbing, filled with giant tanks containing multiple deformed mutant bodies and failed genetic experiments. Another surprising change involved a dinosaur dying in the city. In the final film, that role went to an Apatosaurus. But early concept art tells a very different story. Originally, the animal lying in the middle of the city was a Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's still unknown whether it was meant to be Rexy or a completely new individual, but one thing is obvious. This T-Rex was enormous. It was much larger than a normal Tyrannosaurus, possibly because of a genetic mutation such as gigantism, although it could also be a scaling mistake in the concept art. Interestingly, the oversized Apatosaurus in the final movie is also much larger than its species should be. That makes me wonder if the original plan was always to show an abnormally large dinosaur dying in the city, and that only the species changed during production. But that oversized Tyrannosaurus wasn't the only giant dinosaur planned for the movie. Early concept art reveals a massive Spinosaurus attacking both Zora's boat and the Delgado family's boat during the ocean sequence. This wasn't just a slightly bigger Spinosaurus, it dwarfed the iconic Spinosaurus from Jurassic Park 3, and was even comparable in size to the Mosasaurus. Its design also leaned much closer to modern scientific reconstructions, giving it a more realistic appearance. The artwork suggests this giant Spinosaurus may have originally filled the Mosasaurus's role. If that's true, it would have been the creature the team needed to collect DNA from, as well as the animal hunting them across the ocean. Its sheer size even led many fans to compare it to a kaiju, with some speculating that it may have had a genetic mutation such as gigantism, although no official explanation has ever been given. Would you have preferred this giant Spinosaurus over the Mosasaurus? Let me know in the comments. Another deleted scene introduced a Baryonyx during the river sequence. Concept art shows it standing along the riverbank while the Delgado family floated past on their raft. Surprisingly, it wasn't meant to attack anyone. It was simply fishing, making the moment feel more like wildlife observation than a chase. Its design is also worth mentioning. Unlike the Baryonyx from Fallen Kingdom, this version had a longer, narrower snout and a much more scientifically accurate look. In fact, some fans even believe it might actually be a Suchomimus. The artwork suggests the scene was simply meant to show more of Saint-Hubert's wildlife before the Distortus Rex appeared. Unfortunately, it was cut, and it's a shame because it would have added another dinosaur to the island. Another deleted idea, and one many fans would have loved, involved a juvenile T-Rex that was completely removed from the movie. Thanks to concept art and the screenplay, we know that during the river sequence, the creature feeding on the carcass beside the sleeping T-Rex wasn't originally a Dilophosaurus. It was a young Tyrannosaurus, and the carcass was originally a dead hadrosaur instead of a Parasaurolophus. The juvenile first appeared when Teresa approached the sleeping adult. After hearing movement in the vegetation, she found the young T-Rex sniffing the carcass. According to the script, she threw a rock at it, sending the frightened animal back into the jungle. Interestingly, the matching concept art shows the same moment, except Teresa is holding a stick instead. The juvenile returned after the river chase. As the adult T-Rex failed to reach the family through a narrow rocky passage, a higher-pitched roar called from behind. The young Tyrannosaurus had returned to the carcass, roaring and scratching at it as if claiming it as its own. The adult immediately turned around and went back to its offspring instead of chasing the humans. That small change made the T-Rex feel less like a movie monster and more like a parent protecting its young, just like Buck and Doe did with their injured juvenile in the Lost World Jurassic Park. Would you have preferred to see the juvenile T-Rex instead of the Dilophosaurus? Let me know in the comments. One recent piece of concept art reveals another deleted scene. It shows a Tyrannosaurus Rex standing on top of a massive pyramid-like structure overlooking the jungle, which apparently was meant to be its nest. Sounds awesome, right? The strange part is that nobody knows where this scene was supposed to happen. It never appeared in the final screenplay and was never filmed. Even so, it's another clue that the T-Rex was originally going to have a much bigger role than it did in the finished movie. Early in development, Ember, the Tyrannosaurus featured in the final film, almost looked completely different. A leaked piece of concept art shows an alternate T-Rex with a much more retro appearance. The design immediately brings to mind paintings by Charles R. Knight, the T-Rex from the original King Kong, and especially Gwangi from The Valley of Gwangi, a film Gareth Edwards has cited as one of his inspirations when designing the T-Rex. This artwork should still be taken with caution. Some fans suspect it was created with AI, although the person who leaked it is a highly trusted source within the Jurassic community. Whether it's authentic or not, it's fascinating to imagine how different the movie would have felt with such a classic-looking T-Rex. Would you have liked to see this version instead of Ember? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Not every deleted idea was about action. According to writer David Koepp, an early draft included a mating scene between two titanosaurs. Koepp even joked about it, saying, "They have 8 legs between them, but only 6 are on the ground. That tells you exactly what was happening." Oddly enough, this wasn't the first time Koepp tried something like this. An early draft of the Lost World Jurassic Park also featured 2 Mamenchisaurus mating after the Stegosaurus sequence. So twice, Koepp tried to include dinosaur mating scenes in the Jurassic franchise, and twice they were cut. It definitely would have been one of the most unusual moments in the entire series. Another deleted scene took place just before the Mutodon attack at the gas station. In this scene, 2 velociraptors slowly approached the survivors, creating a tense moment that felt very similar to the classic Jurassic films. But then, something unexpected happened. The raptors seemed to realize that an even more dangerous predator was nearby. Instead of attacking, they backed away and fled as the Mutodons approached. In the end, this entire velociraptor sequence was removed from the film. Its removal disappointed many fans, especially because these velociraptors had a design that strongly resembled the ones from Jurassic Park 3, and it would have allowed us to see a little more of them in the film. Unfortunately, their role in the finished movie was reduced to a single comedic scene that many fans strongly disliked. The velociraptors weren't the only creatures that lost scenes during the gas station sequence. Right after the raptors fled, one of the 2 approaching Mutodons flew away from the area. That brief moment gave the survivors time to scatter. The Delgado family hid inside the store, Martin Krebs searched for the Jeep keys, and Zora attempted to make a phone call. A few moments later, the Mutodon returned and began inspecting the area. Zora hid behind a payphone, while Xavier took cover behind a gas pump. The creature even entered the store searching for the others. Then, just as it seemed ready to leave, the payphone suddenly rang. The sound immediately caught the Mutodon's attention. As it moved towards Zora, Xavier ran into the store where the group barricaded themselves inside. From that point on, the sequence continued much like the version seen in theaters. Like several other deleted scenes, this sequence was later released as bonus material, allowing fans to see how it originally played out even though the visual effects remained unfinished. The Mutadons almost looked completely different. David Koepp originally imagined them as failed InGen experiments, genetic creations that looked unnatural and deeply deformed, and the early concept art took that idea to some very strange places. Some designs looked surprisingly similar to the Mutos from Godzilla 2014, with long limbs, hunched bodies, and an insect-like silhouette. One concept then pushed the creature closer to a pterosaur. It had colors similar to the Quetzalcoatlus seen in the film, but still kept that unsettling Muto-like shape, with extremely long limbs and even 4 wings. Because of its coloration, it's possible this version was envisioned as a Quetzalcoatlus hybrid, rather than a Pteranodon hybrid, although that was never confirmed. The designs only became stranger from there. Some had swollen heads, split beaks, tentacle-like tails, or even looked like flying Distortus Rexes. One of the wildest concepts featured a gigantic Mutadon with 4 wings, 4 eyes, and 2 fused beaks. It was probably one of the closest designs to making the final film, as a highly detailed concept piece places it during the gas station attack. Personally, this is one of my favorite designs, even though it doesn't really look like a dinosaur anymore. I would have loved to see it in the movie. Eventually, the Mutadon evolved into something much closer to the final design, combining the Velociraptor and Pterosaur features we see in the finished movie. Which version would you have liked to see the most? Let me know in the comments, because some of these designs were absolutely insane. The Quetzalcoatlus almost had a much bigger role than most people realize. In the finished film, it only appears during the nest sequence, but early concept art suggests it was originally meant to return for the finale. One illustration shows the Quetzalcoatlus inside the gas station store, in a scene that was later given to the Mutadons. Interestingly, it uses the exact same design from Jurassic World Dominion, suggesting it was always meant to be the Quetzalcoatlus rather than a mutant. Its role didn't end there. Other concept art shows the giant pterosaur stalking the survivors around the island's dock during their escape from Saint-Hubert, blocking their path as they tried to reach the boat. It's unclear how the survivors were originally supposed to deal with the Quetzalcoatlus. The concept art doesn't reveal whether they simply escaped from it, or if the giant flying reptile was eventually meant to confront the Distortus Rex while the survivors made their escape. Taken together, these concepts suggest the Quetzalcoatlus was originally meant to return for the movie's climax, before much of its role was handed over to the Mutadons. Another surprising deleted idea involved a battle between the Distortus Rex and the Titanosaurus. Recently released concept art reveals that the filmmakers explored a confrontation between the island's largest herbivore and its most dangerous mutant. In one illustration, the two giants stand face to face. The Titanosaurus towers over the D-Rex, creating what looks like the setup for a massive showdown. Seeing a sauropod actually fight back is something we've never really seen in the Jurassic franchise before. And honestly, who wouldn't want to see that? Things get even more interesting with another piece of concept art that appears to show the aftermath of the fight. The Titanosaurus seemingly emerges victorious, crushing the Distortus Rex beneath its enormous body. It would have been a surprisingly tragic ending for the mutant king. Unfortunately, the idea never made it beyond the concept stage, leaving behind only a few pieces of artwork showing what could have been one of the most spectacular dinosaur battles in the entire film. But the Titanosaurus wasn't the only dinosaur that was apparently meant to fight the Distortus Rex. One of the biggest revelations to emerge after the release of Jurassic World Rebirth was that Gareth Edwards seriously considered ending the film with a battle between Ember, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and the Distortus Rex. And honestly, it makes perfect sense. The T-Rex is the most iconic dinosaur in the franchise, and seeing it face off against the movie's new mutant monster feels exactly like the kind of finale fans would expect. But that was also the problem. According to information released after the film, the visual effects supervisor convinced Gareth Edwards not to include that battle because it felt too similar to the endings of previous Jurassic World films. The T-Rex had already helped defeat the Indominus Rex and later fought the Giganotosaurus, so another last-minute showdown would have felt too repetitive and predictable. Because of that, the filmmakers chose to avoid another classic T-Rex hero moment and take the story in a different direction. Unfortunately, no concept art or storyboards of this battle have ever surfaced, so we can only imagine what it might have looked like. Personally, I'm a little torn on this one. On the one hand, the ending may have been more predictable. On the other, who wouldn't want to see the Distortus Rex face Ember in a fight? And who knows, maybe a battle like this could still happen in the next movie. After all, the Distortus Rex survived the events of Rebirth, leaving the door open for a future rematch against another apex predator. Let me know in the comments if you think they made the right decision or if this fight should have made it into the final movie. And those were some of the biggest deleted scenes, alternate ideas, and lost concepts from Jurassic World Rebirth. Some of these ideas were probably cut for good reasons, others feel like they could have become unforgettable moments. Now I want to hear from you. Which deleted scene or concept would you have most liked to see in the final movie? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more Jurassic content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.